I'm Marcus, 31, and apparently the designated financial backup plan for my entire family. I work in cybersecurity for a mid-sized tech firm. It's not glamorous, but it pays well, especially this year. I just landed a $15,000 end-of-quarter bonus for heading a successful ransomware mitigation. I've been thinking about using part of it to finally take that trip to Kyoto I've been dreaming about for years. That, or maybe upgrading my car, which has a mysterious clunk every time I reverse. But I hadn't touched the bonus yet. It was just sitting there, quietly in my savings, like a promise to myself. Then I got a text from my mom. Dinner at Aunt Brenda's tonight. Just a casual thing. Or something nice. Casual? Aunt Brenda's version of casual usually means plastic tablecloths and maybe a Spotify playlist if someone remembers to bring a speaker. I wasn't expecting much. I pulled up around 6:45. The street was packed. Cars were lining both curbs, and there was bass thumping loud enough to rattle my dashboard. For a split second, I thought maybe there was a block party. But when I walked up to Brenda's driveway and saw the balloon arch, I stopped cold. Surprise baby shower, a giant banner screamed in glittery gold letters. I blinked. People I barely recognized were already holding red cups and dancing. A DJ was blasting throwback hits from the early 2000s, and 3 folding tables groaned under the weight of catered food. There had to be at least 90 people here. Some of them were coworkers from my brother's job. A few were from my mom's church. There were even Instagram influencers taking selfies next to a professionally decorated photo wall that said, #Baby Mikey coming soon. Baby Mikey. My brother Brian's unborn son. I stepped inside, trying to find someone who could explain what was happening. I finally spotted my mom near the buffet table, holding court like some suburban queen. She looked at me like I was the last one to show up for my own surprise party. There you are. She smiled wide, then added under her breath, "Did you bring a gift?" I thought this was just a casual dinner, I said. She gave a dramatic sigh. Well, technically it is. Just with a bit more love. I didn't laugh. Where did all this come from? I asked, gesturing at the DJ, the catered food, the personalized party favors, and the banner with my brother's face photoshopped onto a cartoon baby. Oh, don't be so dramatic, Marcus, she said, like I was asking why the sky was blue. It's for family. You wouldn't want your little nephew's first big celebration to be disappointing, would you? Something about the way she said it made my skin crawl. I stepped away and checked my phone. Opened my banking app. And there it was. $10,200. Gone. Multiple transactions. All within the last 4 days. Catering. Event planning service. Balloon company. Venue deposit, which I'm pretty sure was illegal since this was Aunt Brenda's house. DJ rental. Even a $400 influencer partnership fee. All charged to my card. My personal savings card. I felt my face go cold. I never gave anyone access to that account. Except, I turned back to Mom. You used my bonus. She didn't deny it. Didn't flinch. Just gave me this look like I was being unreasonable. It's for family, she repeated, as if that answered everything. And don't act like you can't afford it. You never do anything with your money anyway. I stared at her. At my brother across the room, giving a toast with a mimosa in hand like he was some kind of celebrity. At the cake shaped like a baby bottle, with "Thanks, Uncle Marcus," written in blue icing. And I felt empty. All those hours I worked. All the overtime. All the stress and pressure and migraines. That bonus was supposed to be mine. A reward. A breath of fresh air after a long grind. And they took it like I was just a walking wallet. Not even with permission, just assumption. Entitlement. I didn't say a word. I left the party without touching the food. Without saying goodbye. When I got home, I stared at my laptop for a full minute before I started typing. I filed a fraud report for every transaction. I froze all connected cards. Changed every password. Removed every authorized user. Yes, even Mom, who I'd once added as an emergency contact to make her feel included. Then I opened a shared folder of my budget records, just for kicks, and scrolled through all the past expenses I'd covered. Rent top-ups, grocery runs, Brian's car insurance, Dad's dental bill, even the time Mom needed a little help paying for a one-time church fundraiser that turned out to be a cruise. They always framed it as helping the family, but I was never asked, just expected. I wrote one email, just one. Subject line, "You made your choice." I attached screenshots of the charges, the fraud reports, and the emails confirming their reverse transactions. Then I added a little note. This was not your money to take. I'm done being your safety net. I sent it at 1:13 a.m. By 6:50, my phone was vibrating nonstop. 32 missed calls. Text from Dad. What did you do? A voicemail from Mom that started with Marcus. This is not how we handle things in this family, and ended with what sounded suspiciously like a sniffle. But the kicker? The banging on my apartment door at 7:05 a.m. Brian, pounding so hard I thought he'd crack the frame. I didn't open the door. I watched as Brian shouted into the hallway, waving his phone like it was a weapon, like he could force the money back into his account by sheer volume. I didn't flinch, didn't say a word, just waited, leaning against the wall, arms folded. Eventually, he ran out of steam and left, muttering something about calling Mom. I already knew she was blowing up my inbox, 8 unread emails, all subject lined with varying levels of guilt. We need to talk. You're being ridiculous. I'm your mother. I spent the rest of that morning in silence. No music, no TV, just me, my laptop, and a fresh mug of coffee while the chaos brewed outside. I didn't reply to anyone. I didn't have to. The damage was done. But I wasn't just going to let them stew. I wanted them to understand why. At noon, I forwarded a detailed, itemized list to the family group chat. It included every transaction made without my permission, with dates and timestamps. I highlighted and read the charges for influencer package tier 2 to 4 Instagram post plus story and premium DJ experience, 5 hours. Then I attached a screenshot of my savings balance. What was left of it? A little under $5,000. All that remained after months of grinding. The message I sent with it was short. If you think this is acceptable behavior, you've misunderstood who I am. This isn't a conversation. It's a conclusion. 3 people left the group chat within the hour. Brian didn't. He kept sending voice messages, each one more pathetic than the last. The first was angry. The second was full of excuses. The third? That one was my favorite. Come on, man. It wasn't even my idea. Mom said you'd be fine with it. I thought you'd be proud, you know? That you helped. You always help. He said it like that, you always help. As if that made it normal. As if that was a job I'd signed up for, and not something they forced onto me year after year until I stopped questioning it. And I realized something in that moment. It wasn't just about the money. It was about the expectation. The way they saw me. Not as Marcus. Not as a brother. Not even as a son. Just a debit card with legs. The texts didn't stop. That night, Mom called 15 times. Then Dad tried. Then Aunt Brenda. I didn't answer any of them. But the guilt-tripping voicemails rolled in like clockwork. Marcus, this is your family. Don't throw us away over some money. You're embarrassing us. What are people going to think? Your nephew's baby shower is ruined. Ruined. Can't you just let it go? Let it go. Like they hadn't stolen from me. Like I was the one overreacting. But they weren't ready for what came next. Because I wasn't just done with their theft. I was done with being their crutch. The next day, I went into full audit mode. I opened up every joint account, every authorized payment I'd been covering quietly in the background for years. I made a list: Mom's gym membership, Dad's phone plan, Brian's Netflix account. Funny, he never even asked for the password, just logged in one day and stayed there. I cut everything. I emailed every service provider, changed every password, transferred my checking account to a new bank entirely and canceled the old card. I even pulled the home insurance I'd been paying for on the family house, just temporarily, since they just needed help for a few months. It had been over 2 years. By the end of the week, they weren't just blocked from my finances. They were blocked from me. That Friday night, I turned off my phone, opened a new browser tab, and finally did it. I booked a solo trip to Japan. A 2-week getaway. No family, no drama. Just me and the sound of Kyoto rain on temple rooftops. It felt like breathing after months of being underwater. But of course, they couldn't let that go. The next morning, I was woken by a knock on my door. Not pounding this time. Just steady. Persistent. I checked the peephole. It was Mom. No makeup. Puffy eyes. Hair pulled back in a messy bun that looked like she hadn't slept. And standing just behind her, arms crossed and looking equally defeated, was Dad. She knocked again. I didn't move. I didn't say a word. But she started talking anyway, voice trembling like she thought maybe I was right behind the door, maybe hoping guilt alone would pull the lock open. Marcus, we didn't mean to hurt you. We just thought it was for family. And we thought you'd understand. You always do. Silence. She kept going. I told Brian to use your card. I thought you'd be okay with it. You always help. There it was again. That phrase. You always help. As if being kind once meant I'd signed a lifetime contract. As if saying no made me selfish. As if my value was tied entirely to how convenient I was for them. I watched her shoulders slump. She waited another minute, then walked away. I stayed at the door long after they were gone, just listening to the silence. It was the loudest piece I'd ever heard. But the story wasn't over. Because later that night, I got a call from a number I didn't recognize. No voicemail. No text. Just one missed call and a sinking feeling in my gut. Then another. Then another. Then a text finally came through. From Brian. Just 4 words. You need to see this. I opened the attached photo. And when I did, I just sat there, staring at it. Because in that photo was something I never expected. It was a photo of a letter. Handwritten. Folded once, like it had been tucked inside something. At the bottom, in smeared ink, was my name, Marcus, in my mother's handwriting. But the letter wasn't addressed to me. It was addressed about me. I zoomed in. If he ever finds out, we'll just say we didn't know. He never asks questions. He just fixes things. That's what Marcus does. My stomach dropped. I scrolled down to the rest of the message. It was scrawled in a familiar messy rush, like Mom had written it while pacing. The ink was blotchy in places, like she'd pressed too hard. Some lines were crossed out. Others were underlined twice. Brian says we should tell him the baby shower was just a surprise, but I already used the money. I told the planner it was fine. We had the funds. Marcus got that bonus. I'm not asking, not again. He'll forgive me. He always does. Besides, it's not really stealing if we're family, right? I stared at the text for a long time. At first, I thought it had to be a fake. A joke. But I recognized the stationery. Mom's weird floral print notepads, the ones she ordered in bulk from those catalog mailers that still think it's 1996. She used them to leave notes for the house cleaner and the landscaper when I was growing up. They were hers. And that handwriting? That was definitely hers too. Then Brian sent another message. Found it in Mom's desk when I was trying to get into her old phone. She doesn't know I saw it. I didn't reply. I couldn't. My fingers hovered over the screen, but nothing I could type felt like enough. Not anger. Not betrayal. Not even disbelief. Because deep down, I think part of me always knew. The way they treated me, it wasn't just obliviousness. It was calculated. Strategic. Like I was a chess piece they kept on the board just long enough to sacrifice at the right time. This letter was proof. Not a misunderstanding. Not a mistake. A choice. They chose to use me. To take my money behind my back. To lie if they had to. And worse, they believed I'd always forgive them. Always. I put the phone down. Walked to the kitchen. I don't even remember pouring the glass of water. I just remember my hand shaking. Not with rage, exactly. More like the ghost of something colder. Something final. I opened my laptop again. I had already cut off their access. I had already blocked them from my finances. But now? Now, I needed to block them from me. I pulled up my email and started typing methodically, carefully, with the same clarity I use when drafting incident reports at work. No emotion. Just facts. The subject line, a final note. The body of the email, you didn't just spend my money. You spent my trust. You planned it. You wrote about it. You decided I was too predictable to push back. I don't care if you were just trying to help the family. I am part of this family too. And I will no longer be the one who sacrifices so everyone else can stay comfortable. This isn't me being cruel. This is me being done. If you reach out again, do so through a lawyer. Marcus. I hit send. Then I deleted the group chat thread, archived all the voicemails, and blocked every number. Except one. Brian's. I hesitated on that. Because as messed up as he was, he'd sent the letter. Maybe out of guilt. Maybe self-preservation. Maybe because he was scared he was next on the chopping block. Whatever the reason, he cracked the illusion. And he gave me the one thing I never expected from my family, proof. But as I sat back down on the couch, still gripping my phone, a new message popped up. From Brian. This one wasn't about the letter. It was a screenshot. An email from Mom. Sent the night after the baby shower. Subject line. Emergency, Marcus might find out. The body? That was the part that really made my jaw clench. If he freezes the accounts before the refunds come through, we're done. I need you to convince him it was all a mix-up. Tell him I didn't know about the charges. Play dumb if you have to, he'll believe you. He trusts you. Do not let him feel betrayed. If he cuts us off, we lose everything. Brian didn't say anything else. No apology. No defense. Just the screenshot. And a single message beneath it. Didn't know she sent this. Just found it now. Do what you gotta do. I stared at the screen, and in that moment, I realized something. They never thought I'd walk away. They thought I couldn't. But I was already gone. I sat with that last message for a while. The screenshot, the subject line, the desperation in Mom's words, it all felt surreal. Like the final puzzle piece I didn't want but needed. I always suspected she could be manipulative, but I'd never seen it in writing. Never seen the strategy spelled out so clearly. The twisted idea that all it would take was one lie, one well-acted apology, and I'd fold like I always did. Except this time, I wasn't folding. This time, I was burning the whole playbook. I didn't reply to Brian's message. I didn't need to. He'd done his part, maybe out of guilt, maybe just to save himself, but he cracked the dam wide open. And I wasn't patching it back together. Instead, I forwarded the email to myself, then printed it, along with the letter he'd sent earlier. I tucked them into a folder labeled Personal Records. Not because I planned to sue anyone, at least not yet, but because I wanted a reminder. Physical proof that I wasn't imagining things. That I wasn't overreacting. That my family chose to betray me. I needed that clarity. Because walking away is one thing. Staying away? That's the hard part. Especially when they try to crawl back in. And oh, did they try? It started with the phone calls, mostly from Aunt Brenda, who tried the classic, "I'm neutral in this, but just want the family whole again," routine. Then came the text from cousins I barely talked to, suddenly checking in, dropping phrases like, "We're worried about you," and "You know your mom only meant well." But the worst? The envelope that showed up a week later. No return address. Just my name written in Mom's handwriting. Inside was a 4-page letter. The first 2 pages were a rambling mess, half apology, half emotional blackmail. She wrote about how hard it was raising 2 boys on a tight budget. About how I was always the quiet one, the reliable one. About how she didn't mean for things to spiral and only wanted to make the baby shower special. She never used the words, "I stole from you." She never admitted she lied. She just kept saying how disappointed she was that I let money come between us. But page 3 is what sealed it. "We had no choice, Marcus. You have so much, and Brian has always struggled." I just thought, if we didn't take care of this for him, who would? That sentence, "We had no choice." It echoed in my mind for days. Like there was some universal rule that having more meant I owed them. That I was obligated to compensate for Brian's mistakes, his laziness, his entitlement. That my success was just a tool for their convenience. That I didn't get to keep what I earned. That I didn't deserve to. Page 4 was blank. Just her signature at the bottom. As if she thought that was enough to close the book. I didn't write back. I shredded the letter. A few days after that, I made an appointment with a therapist. First session was over Zoom. The second one was in person. By the third, I found myself saying things I didn't even realize I'd been carrying for years. How I was expected to be the peacemaker. The fixer. The quiet one. How Brian could fail upwards for his entire life and still be treated like royalty, while I was the family ATM machine in slacks. How every major moment in my adult life was either overshadowed, hijacked, or dismissed by my family in some way. My first promotion, my new apartment, even the time I got published in an industry journal. Mom once said, "Oh, that's nice," and then launched into a 15-minute rant about how Brian's ex-girlfriend was trying to keep him from seeing his dog. That therapy appointment was the first time I said aloud, "I think my family never saw me as a person." The therapist didn't even flinch. She just nodded and said, "That sounds incredibly painful." It was. But it also felt like lifting a weight off my chest that I didn't even know I'd been carrying since I was a teenager. In the weeks that followed, I started reclaiming parts of my life. I filed a formal fraud report with my bank, and within 3 weeks, the full $10,200 was returned to my account. I also set up identity theft monitoring, just in case. I contacted every service I'd been covering for my parents and made sure all accounts were fully transferred or closed. I even got a new phone number. It was tedious, but worth it. The quiet that followed was strange. At first, I kept expecting the next explosion. A call, a letter, a knock on the door. But none came. Eventually, the silence settled in like a warm blanket. Not absence, peace. I started going out more. Bought myself a camera and picked up photography again, something I hadn't touched since college. I stopped checking my old group chats, stopped waiting for guilt to knock on my door. It never did. Or if it did, I didn't answer. And when the trip to Kyoto finally came, I went. 2 full weeks, alone. I visited shrines in the early morning when the world was still foggy and quiet. I ate in ramen shops where nobody knew my name. I walked through gardens, took photos of cherry blossoms, and sat beside koi ponds for hours doing absolutely nothing. No demands. No guilt trips. Just me. And for the first time in my adult life, that was enough. On the last night, I sat under a lantern-lit bridge in Guyane and scrolled through the photos I'd taken. One caught my eye, just a simple shot of my reflection in the water. Blurry. Off-center. But something about it felt right. Like I was finally seeing myself clearly. Not the fixer. Not the wallet. Not the reliable backup plan. Just Marcus. 31 years old. Independent. Whole. When I got home, there was one last envelope waiting for me. This one wasn't from Mom. It was from Brian. No return address, just a folded note and a photo. The note said, "I'm moving. Got a job offer in another state. Wanted you to have this. I know I don't deserve anything, but for what it's worth. I'm sorry, and thank you." The photo was from the baby shower. A candid shot of me standing near the entrance, the moment I realized what was happening. My face said it all: shock, confusion, hurt. I didn't even remember someone taking it. But written on the back, in his handwriting, was one last message. "You deserved better than this." I didn't cry. I didn't call him. But I tucked the photo away, not as a memory of betrayal, as a reminder of why I'll never go back. Because forgiveness doesn't mean forgetting. And boundaries aren't cruelty, they're healing. My family made their choice. And for once, I chose myself.